Hi and welcome to this little series about the Buchla Easel. The reason why I chose to do a little kind of instructional video series for this instrument is that it's without any doubt the synthesizer that gains most attraction when I'm out playing, and the one that people ask the most questions about and are really curious on. It was first released in 1974, so this is a reissue that came maybe around 2014, I would guess then, and I've purchased one of the first ones in Australia, I'm pretty sure. And I've played on it lots and lots since then, and I still love it. I also have an auxiliary card here, which I will now disconnect, so I will have to turn the power off and disconnect this one and all these banana cables, which are great because you can stack them on top of each other any way you want. And take away this one too. So the way it works is that this is basically a modular system. The bottom part is one module in a boat of its own, a metal container, a boat. The top one is another module in its own little boat. These two have then been put together and assembled in a suitcase. I've taken mine out of the suitcase. So when you turn it on, first time you start playing with it, it might be a bit confusing because there's no sound. You need to connect the correct things to the correct things and know a little bit about how the whole thing is set up to even get sound out of it. It does have a keyboard here. It is a touch sensitive keyboard, but not in the way that most MIDI keyboards are. This is basically conducts let's see, I'll take this off and you can have a look at that little light there. The more skin that touches this surface, the more voltage goes through. And to play the keyboard, it needs to be connected. This is the pulse or trigger, great. This is the main, which is the voltage pitch. And here, the pressure, which I just explained. The pressure comes out in these purple connections here. The pulse goes in and triggers the machine here. The main CV goes in there. It's all color coded. You got a sequencer here, it's blue. You got an envelope generator here, it's red. You got a random voltage source here, which is white. So it's quite easy to understand. And then those are outputs that you then put into the black ones, which is inputs, controller. This it has two oscillators. One that they call the complex oscillator, which basically is the one that just makes the sound, and it sounds like this. There's a spring reverb in here too. I'll take that off. And the frequency is written here, 555, 110, 220, 440, 880 and so forth. Then there is what they call the modulation oscillator, which also can go into audible. It's the same frequency range. But it can also be put to a lower range where it only goes up to 55, and then it goes down way out of audible range. That's why it's used to modulate the other one. In this case, it's set to a square wave. You can have a sine wave, square wave, or sawtooth. It's the same with the complex oscillator. It can have square wave, sine wave and sawtooth. This is sine wave here. And we modulate it with the sine wave from there, if we want to. So this, you can turn them on and then they're on the whole time. So how do you make it play an envelope? Here's the envelope: attack, decay, attack, sustain, decay. Attack is how fast the sound comes in, or slow. Sustain is how long it sits there before it decays. Attack, sustain, decay. Simple envelope. This can then be triggered by the keyboard, the sequencer, which gets, in this case, gets triggered by the pulsar. Pulsar, sequencer, envelope generator. And then to make that work, we need to connect the envelope generator to the gate of oscillator 1 and the gate of oscillator 2. Here we got oscillator 2. And here we got oscillator 1. Now they're both blipping along. A longer decay or a longer attack. If you want to change the pitch, then you have to connect, in this case, the sequencer, blue, to the controller of the pitch. So the black one controls the pitch, and you can control how much control voltage will change the pitch. Then we can do the same with oscillator, the other oscillator, of course. So we connect this one to there. Now they're both going up and down in accordance to this sequencer. And being a Buchla, of course, it's not an 8-step or a 16-step sequencer. It's a 5-step sequencer. But you can choose 4 if you want to be a little bit more conventional, or 3 if you want to do waltz, or just confuse people, or 5 if you want to confuse them even more. I usually like having it on the 5 so that it takes a while before the pattern to repeat itself again. And yes, of course, you can turn them off and on. In this case, now I've only got 1, 3 and 5 on. The others are off. I'll put them all on again. A little bit of spring reverb. On there. So it's the modulation oscillator will of course modulate the other one. So let's introduce some frequency modulation here. So now the oscillator, the modulation oscillator, is modulating the complex oscillator here. There's a random source here. We can put random on the pulsar which will make it trigger the sequencer a little bit randomly. And then of course you can put random onto the pitch as well. For example, onto the pitch of the complex oscillator. Can put randomness on the amount of modulation as well. Okay, bit of a recap. Buchla Music Easel, first released in 1974, standalone synthesizer with everything you need in a plastic suitcase format. It's basically a Buchla modular in 2 boats in this suitcase. You connect everything with banana connectors and you can stack them on top of each other as much as you want, really. It's got a keyboard that's touch sensitive, it's got a 5-step sequencer, envelope generator, pulsar, which is the trigger if you want that, modulation oscillator that can be sine, square and sawtooth. That can then modulate the complex oscillator that also can be sine, square and sawtooth. And out they come through this low pass gate here. There's a mixer section, channel A and B, which is oscillator to oscillators. There is a built-in spring reverb. Separate level for headphones if you want to use that. It's mono and it's monophonic as well. 1 key at a time and mono output. Well, I think that's all for today. Thank you for watching and I hope to see you soon again. Cheers, bye.